Hey everybody, welcome back to Champion Sons and our Madden 22 franchise. And where do we leave off after winning the Super Bowl with the Tennessee Titans? Well, we do have ourselves a new opportunity, ladies and gentlemen. We are now the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings. And this is an interesting opportunity, I think, that we have here. Before us because the Vikings they're a pretty decent team. They got a good receiving core with Jefferson and Thielen. Um, great running back in Dalvin Cook. One of the things that they had been missing was a quarterback. Kirk Cousins, he is. I mean, yeah, obviously the game manager label and all that, but you can win and be real successful with the game manager. He's just not someone who can get you a win when you need it, right? Like he'll if you have the lead, he'll take care of the ball and all that, and that's great. But if you need him to make that final drive in the last minute to really win a game, he's not the guy to do that. So we did have to get rid of him. And in the previous draft, since it wasn't a lot of the scouting, our scouts that we did in relation to the Vikings team, we didn't really. We're not really going to go over the draft. I will say the biggest pickup we did have was getting a new quarterback, Nate Langford. He's got potential. He is more of a strong arm quarterback than say like a field general type of quarterback, or even a scrambler. He's got speed. He can improvise and make plays happen on his feet. But that's not his primary. That's not where he's most successful at. So this is going to be interesting. You see, we're setting up our scouting right now, kind of looking at how are we going to build this team for the future, going forward. So I think once we get these, and it's kind of hard to pick, you want to make sure to have like an offensive line scout, a defensive line scout, receiver, defensive back, and then you're really looking at a crapshoot of if you need a quarterback, fire one scout. If you don't have a QB focus one, hire a different one that does have that QB focus. You want to try to keep all areas, offense and defense, kind of covered as far as scouting goes, just so you have a good view. I'm not too sure. Obviously, the scouts, like in the area or whatever, if that's their main focus, you're going to have, I guess, higher percentages on some of those players. Other than that, I'm not too sure as far as what they really do for you at this point. So we do kind of get them setting up going forward. I like defensively to kind of build a team, so I do need to see where we have our strengths at. The defensive line is going to be one of the biggest factors, I think, for us going forward in the season. Defensive back wise, we have speed, so I'm not too concerned about that. The guys aren't rated the highest as far as our defensive backs go, but we do have speed, so as long as we have guys in position, yeah, they're going to get burned some. They're going to get beat on some deep plays, jump balls, 50-50 shots, and all that. But as long as we have them there to make a play, it gives them an opportunity, right? And so that's kind of where we're looking at as far as building on defense, since we have the offense. Devontae Parker is someone I did bring in just to try out as an additional receiver. I think we needed speed on both sides. Parker has that. He has speed. He's a veteran leader, someone we could really use, along with Jefferson on the opposite side of him. Right. So we did bring him in. Hopefully that will open up the passing lanes quite a bit more. Going to have to kind of see how that does play out moving forward, though. I'll tell you, look, number 14, Langford, that is our rookie quarterback. He's someone that we're going to have to build around. Now, I like the fact that he's young. Now, Dalvin Cook, obviously, at this stage, this would be year 4 of our coach's career path. So, Dalvin Cook obviously has aged quite a bit, technically, from right now. He's 4 years older. And so you'll see kind of some effects, hopefully not too much of that, of his age. He is still an X factor, so we've got that going for us. We do need to keep an eye on him though as this season progresses to see what cycle is he on. Has he already hit that regression point or not? So we'll kind of work that out as we go throughout this season. Uh, like I said, offensively, I think we're good. To build on. Offensive line, we are going to obviously have to take a look at. I mean, that's a big thing, right? It is. But we've got a pretty decent one, an offensive line that can help us sustain uh, drives on the ground. That's a big thing for us. Is when it comes to a 3rd and 1 or a 3rd and 2, can we do it? I think with Cook in the backfield and the offensive line we have right now, I think we definitely have that capability, right? So it's just kind of like how we ran into at Tennessee, not knowing how to really operate that offense until we got a game or two into it. Started figuring out the little intricacies of that offense, who can do what, and how can we push them in all those areas. So that's kind of what we're testing out here, and that's what I like about the preseason is it gives us a chance to test out certain plays, whether it be end around, trick plays. Let's us see who can we really use to the fullest of potential, and who's probably not going to step up to where they need to be. Okay. One thing I have noticed, and Adam Thielen, if you see him running his routes, he's looking slow. And I did check his speed rating before. It has dropped significantly, I think, from what it was. So we definitely have an area to improve with him. We might need to look at his future with us as well. See how he does for us in this season. So now, one thing you did see right there is we did bring in a rookie kicker, and not really for any purpose beyond I just didn't want to pay our kicker that we have here. If we can get one that can do the same thing, I mean, what the hell? Why wouldn't we? So we found one in the draft. He's got pretty decent accuracy and power. But his power rating is definitely higher up than his accuracy. But I think he's good enough to what we can do. And he's got the capability to hit some game-winning kicks. He really does. So here we are with some of our backups that you'll notice on our team in this season. Gardner Minshew will be the backup quarterback here for the Minnesota Vikings. We brought him in just to be a backup. Anytime you have a rookie quarterback, you just want to have someone who has played the game before they're backing him up, especially if you know the rookie's going to be a starter, so it's not like we have a competition going. Langford is going to be our starter. He's going to jump into this thing immediately. That's just the way it is. He can get over it, move on if he doesn't like that. So Kellen Mond is our 3rd-string quarterback right now. He's young, so we might be able to get some longevity out of him that we wouldn't get out of Gardner. We'll take a look at that as we go throughout the season. And God willing, we don't have Langford get injured and need either one of them to back him up. Minshew is definitely the higher rated one over Kellen Mond. So we'll kind of see how that works out. Now, we do simulate. I like to keep the starters in the preseason. Let me just see how they do. These are the guys I'm going to be playing with most often. But so once the backups come in, I know it's great for guys that may have a development trade upgrade and all that stuff. I'm not going to be too concerned with that this year, or at least in the preseason, right? So I just simulate the rest of those games. The first one we did end up losing 16-13. Kind of shows you what our backups can do. Our offense wasn't firing on all cylinders, but we still pulled out getting a touchdown, a couple field goals, all that. So now our next preseason game would lead us here to face off against the Miami Dolphins. This is a big one for us. It's our first game at home with our new quarterback. And yes, I know it is preseason. I get it. Okay, I do. So not too much to get excited about. There is some stuff to get nervous about, and it's little run plays like that you see. And I'm not sure how we really combat that. You take this goal line formation in Madden, it can do all sorts of things. Sometimes it'll open up a hole like the dang Red Sea. Other times you get blasted backwards for a couple yard loss. You never really know. It's kind of a crapshoot there. Dalvin Cook this upcoming season is going to be a big weapon for us. I don't know how I want to use him most, right? You think inside run would not be his forte, but that seems to be where we get most of our yards. Outside, he can bust them out big, but we just don't have the blocking on the edges to, I think, really sustain that. So he's going to have to kind of transition to become more of a power runner versus an elusive back. And if we can get him in that type of mindset, I think we can use him real effectively. While keeping to his, evasive mindset. I think if we get him the ball out in the open, say not having to worry about the blocker, so throw it to him in the flat. Get him out moving to where he has some speed. He can make some juke moves, get some guys missing. I think that's where he will fit in the best, is doing that kind of thing. So this should be an interesting season coming up and using this offense. We've got a lot of weapons. Not so much a ton of trickeration happening, but a lot of good weapons. There's a Thielen right there. Normally, I would like to believe before he would have outrun the linebackers to get around the edge, but this time he didn't. I don't know if he just doesn't have it. As far as speed, like if that's really what his rating looks like, I'm not too sure. Langford, rookie quarterback. I've talked about him a little bit, but with him being a strong arm versus a general or a true improviser, he has a capability to do stuff, but it's not his natural fitting. So he's going to be interesting. We have to make smart decisions with him, I think, is going to be the biggest factor. In any quarterback, that becomes a big thing, avoiding turnovers. But with Langford, one problem you kind of notice with him, and even with McCallum in our last when we were with the Falcons, the drag patterns, the kind of crosses, the not sharp slants, but kind of the draggy slants across the middle. The timing, he seems to be off a lot on that timing with those guys. So hopefully that develops throughout the season. That is something to keep an eye on as we go forward. He'll have the deep ball, but can he hit the crossing pattern when we need only 6 yards? No, we'll have to test that one out and see kind of how that works. Now, our defense, we've talked about them some as far as what we're looking for, going forward and how we want to build them. Right now, I think we have a lot of good guys on the line. Danielle Hunter, coming off that edge, is just a beast of a defensive end. He makes big-time sacks, gets a lot of pressure for us, makes quarterbacks have to throw it early, which allows us to get turnovers and score points, as you just saw right there. Peters, one of our younger defensive backs, coming up with a big interception right there, just stepping in front of it, reading the play, and then making the play. So you got to love seeing that happen. At the back of the safeties, we do have a new young safety, last name Love, on the field. Number, let's see, I forgot which number he is. But he is one of our starting safeties. He's a rookie. He's got a lot of ability as far as being a hybrid type of safety that I think really works out for us. Doing really well in pass coverage, but also can come up and lay the lumber in the run game. So you got to like seeing that from our defensive backs. That helps us out, being able to go in and jump in and make interceptions, make plays happen. That's what you need, because that's going to separate us out in some games. Hopefully every game we have is a multiple score win and all that. But let's face reality, that's not going to happen. What we need is some guys who can make that final drive, who can just win by just one, right? Who can stop the team, who can stop the other team from scoring with 1 second left, but also has the capability to put up that point. to put up those scores with 1 second left. The yin and the yang of it, we need the whole package for this thing. So that's going to be one of our biggest things kind of going forward with, our defense and our offense. We really do need everybody working together, testing these guys out. Finding out where they are going to be the most successful is going to be a big factor determining how we do this season. I talked about Langford and his crossing patterns. That was an out pattern right there. Pressure was on. If he has any type of pressure, and really his bullet passes are pretty inaccurate as a whole, but any type of pressure makes it pretty bad. So we're definitely going to have to keep a watch on that as we kind of progress throughout this season. Now, this is a big-time thing that I want to make sure we get used to doing. You see there's 12 seconds left on the clock at halftime. It's putting points up at the half, putting points up at the end of the game, getting in the pattern of doing that. That actually allowed us to get a big lead in this one. Once we took out our starters, the backups came in, and you kind of saw what happened. We ended in a 27-27 tie, even with all the turnovers we had with the starters on the field. So that's been a big thing for us this year, is getting those turnovers that we're going to have to do. We're going to need those extra possessions. I think there's no way to avoid Langford from turning the ball over. If we want to throw the ball, he's going to make mistakes. He's going to be inaccurate at times. So we have to be able to generate extra possessions ourselves. Cannot just rely on them only. So that's kind of how that's the theory that we're taking behind it, right? That's the thought process behind how we're operating this season. And this is kind of one of the demonstrations of a big moment that you want to see. We're coming into halftime, 2 minutes remaining, tie ball game at half, and we are able to jump up and get the interception. That's a big thing for us. That's something we need to do. Mackenzie Alexander grabbed that one specific interception. He's had a great preseason for us. He's going to be a leader, I think, for us going forward. He is a little bit older, so I'm not sure how long he's going to be able to stick around with us, but I think he's got that definite leadership potential. And capitalizing on mistakes, that's what we're going to be doing right here. And making that a focus on the season kind of going forward as well. But I am excited about what potential we have for us. And is it any different than the potential we had at Atlanta, our previous opportunity? Obviously slightly different. If you look at that, I think Langford's able to make some throws that Jarrett's wasn't able to make, especially in his rookie season. So I think we have some good opportunities this year, at least as far as our own legacy goes, to make a statement that what happened in Atlanta was a fluke. We should have been given more time. We weren't. However, it is what it is. We are going to make this our own. We're going to step up. We're going to be something great this season. And that's going to be because, every individual member does their job and to the best of their abilities and actually beyond the best. So this season is going to be a good one coming up. It's going to be an interesting one in the NFC North, facing off against the Packers twice a season, Bears and Lions. Well, Lions, I guess, not so much. Bears will be interesting with Justin Fields. I haven't played him yet for a whole game, so it'll be interesting to see how that operates and how he does, and what it's like playing on the defense against him. So, finishing up the preseason, we did go 1-1-1. We pretty much hit up every checkbox that you could hit up, and that's good. I like the preseason just to get some of these guys. The veteran development, it happens, but I prefer to have the younger guys be able to kind of get through and get some of those development points. And that's what I like about making them kind of the focus for it. here we are getting ready to finish off the final week of the preseason. Got to make our last cuts. And if you look, I mean, some of these guys will give us a pretty good boost in cap space. It's not like we're really hurting for it because we don't have that many big price guys except for Hunter on the defense and Cook in the offense. So that's, I mean, that's pretty much it. And if we can kind of keep it that way, we may have to start paying some guys. We'll work out our salary cap then. Um, hopefully, it won't become an issue for another couple of years, though. So, just these are going to be our basic cuts. And most of the guys, if you're not going to provide us with any additional money whenever it comes to the cap space, normally I like to put the guys in the practice squad. Move as many of them to practice squad that we can. We'll kind of see how that works out for us. And I'll tell you this, one of my theories when it comes to running backs and receivers and cuts. I like to look at the speed. If a guy's got good amount of speed, we may be able to use him as a returner for kickoffs or punts. So that should be pretty interesting right there. So we are going to go ahead and move on forward to get ready for the start of the season. That will be in the next episode to get this season kicked off. But let's take a look at one more little aspect. Let's just take a rundown of the team real quick before we get ready for the start of this new season. I told you, looking at the depth chart as far as quarterbacks go, Langford is our number one QB. He will be there at the start of the season. He's a 74 overall. We will make his development a focus, so hopefully he grows pretty rapidly. We'll kind of see how he progresses from beginning to end, right? Dalvin Cook is going to be our primary running back. I don't want to have to run him 30 times a game, so LaMarcus Wilkerson will probably get some carries. If I can fold him into a two-back system, since Cook does have that age, I would definitely prefer to do that if we can. And so that's going to be one of kind of my focuses going forward, is seeing about, our running game. Do we want to be a single back? I prefer the dual back threat instead of a single back. That's just me personally. Wide receiving core, it's okay. Jefferson obviously is a big one. Devontae Parker, those are obviously our primary. Thielen, he's 70. He's at 79 overall. It look like, and he doesn't have a whole lot of speed, so he's going to be an interesting one to think about going forward. Now, taking a look at the defense, Danielle Hunter, our left end, 95 overall. He's going to be a beast. Now, on the other side, we have Valles. I'm assuming that's how it's pronounced. Valles. Makes sense to say Valles. We do have Emilio Valles on the other side. So, if we can start working pressure from both sides and collapsing the pocket, we may be able to potentially get a lot of good pressure sacks, or at least get their quarterback off his game and make him run when guys are open versus standing there and just throwing it. Adding the pressure to those throws, even on open receivers, can hinder the accuracy. So I think we'll be able to get some pressure with this defensive line. Now, going up the middle, I do like having Pierce and Tomlinson together there. There's kind of a drop-off, obviously, after Tomlinson. That's not what I like to see, so we'll have to get those guys developed or start looking at the draft and even free agency. Let's see who we have coming in as a free agent. Now, outside linebacker, Anthony Barr, getting on up in the tooth. He's a pretty expensive one. We'll see how he does this year. Just salary cap wise, if we can trade him, we may look to do that. I'm not exactly sure what he would garner coming back because he is so old. But we'll definitely see. It's worth taking a look at. Linebacking core is pretty solid. Defensive backs is where we're going to have an issue. Marcus Peters, He's the highest at 83. Alexander comes in at 79. His speed rating is 89, so it's not the greatest, but he's got what we need him to have. The problem is, if you look at their overall, we go 83, 79, 70, 66, 63. That means generally in a 4 wide receiver set, we're going to have a 73 and a 83, or a 66 and an 83 defensive back on the field at the same time. So odds are we're going to see a lot of multiple wide receiver sets if I had to bet. So that'll be we'll have to see if we build that through the draft, trades, or even free agency. See who we can get going forward. So with that in mind, I do want to remind y'all to hit the subscribe button if you have not already. And if you did like today's video and are excited for the new season as a Vikings head coach, give us a thumbs up, as we do really appreciate it, and it greatly helps out the channel. So thank y'all for joining us in this episode, and I will see y'all in the next one for Season 4 kickoff. And other than that, everybody, stay safe. You guys know how it goes by now, right, y'all? Later, y'all.